Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.co's daily brief. China Tim, I just see you over there on YouTube. I don't know whether you're in the hangout here. I just responded to your question. So you guys in level 2 and level 3 should be booking, tutorials using the system for that. And as we talked about in class, because this classes are so big, probably a good idea to, grab a couple people in your region and see if you can book those tutorials in clusters, because time's going to be a real premium here over the next few months, that's for sure. Okay, welcome back to the show. We did a long show yesterday, the broiler chicken show, so I hope everybody enjoyed that. See that we have a pretty full room. Lots of our regulars are in the house, and it's great to see everybody posting and contributing on the chat room this morning. I love waking up and just seeing the very healthy banter that's always sort of 24/7, because we live in this global world. So at any given point in time, you can pop in and just sort of see what the sentiment in the market is. I think that's so cool about our site. So it was great to see you guys chit-chatting away there. Did have crypto is an ever-evolving space. This is a venture capital space. It, unfortunately, it means that a heck of a lot of risk comes with this. You got to understand, and ironically enough, I always tell you guys, a trader's life, you can make unlimited amounts of money, if you catch direction of the market going the right way. But you got to understand, a big part of our life is basically we're paid to worry. So what I see in this space is, and it's almost weird how almost internally within the crypto space, we seem to end up almost shooting ourselves in the foot a little bit. So, if anything, this is a really good sort of testament to let's build our plans. Let's, identify how much money we get to work with, and let's try and take appropriate risk, spread the jelly, try and, if a story does go tits up, you're not going to get completely trashed. We had talked back in the fall about not a bad idea to maybe even be thinking about looking at charts versus US dollar. If you're concerned that the price of Bitcoin itself is awfully high and extremely volatile, and if you want to make sound decisions just based purely off of what the chart looks like versus US dollar, I think that's perfectly realistic. And I think hopefully you guys have gotten the impression the tone over the past probably month or so has been sort of this unwinding of the party. It's painful, it's long, it's laborious, it's filled with lots and lots of FUD talk. And, long and short of it here is, I remember specifically in 2014, at that point, after we had topped out here, this whole period was just all China ban, China ban, China ban, China ban, China ban, China ban. And how ironic this go round is now Korea ban, Korea ban, Korea ban, Korea ban. Korea of all places. I think there's a healthy back and forth in this market, no doubt. And the interesting thing is, and this is sort of the message that I had out of the broiler chicken show yesterday, the irony of it all is if price does get down in here, and frankly speaking, I don't even know if it is going to right now, but if it does get down into here, I believe this is like a buying opportunity of a lifetime. And I still feel very comfortable that, by time 2018 is done, and it'll actually be really interesting to see. But over here, my hunch is price is actually going to be right back up in this area. So it's going to be a wild ride, no doubt about it. I think in the short term, we have lots of sort of finagling going on, CME futures contracts listing. And as I sort of mused yesterday, I was really hoping that some point through this, we could actually get the options listed on these futures contracts. Because once that happens, then we can remove price risk from the equation, right? And just simply go to basis risk. But long and short of it there is we just don't know when that's going to happen. I keep a close eye on it, and we have been watching the COT reports recently. It is interesting. It's funny because I've trained my guys so well that as soon as I don't know where it is, maybe over here. As soon as people start putting information like this out on the net, like this guy posted Bitcoin, CBOE, he posts the COT report, and instantly our guys go, CR Investor, what's going on? So Tim is he was one of the original students from back in 2014's program. Stand-up guy and what I would consider like sort of crypto aristocracy. Probably a good idea to either follow or get to know him. He pops on the site every once in a while. I talk to him lots on Twitter. I just sort of, did up a write-up. I think I had said recently that we're going to have to sort of get used to the language of these reports. This is a financial futures CFTC report. And actually, they even say that this is a new format that they're doing. I actually prefer the old format. I just want to know who's in the business, who's the managed money, and who's the everybody else, speculators. Commercials, non-commercials, small specs, right? It makes it really easy if you have it broken down this way. The way that they've broken down it here, this is actually, I hate to say it, on first blush to me, this is extremely confusing. But, the sad part about the financial services industry is I wouldn't even be surprised if there is like a lobbying effort to try and make it more confusing and make it less helpful for the public. That's the environment that we live in. That's the feeling that I've gotten over basically the past 10, 20 years in the financial services industry. And you hear, Antonopoulos talk about how the banks basically have just spent all their capital and all their resources to try and squeeze the public harder and screw them over harder, right? So, is there a certain lobbying effort? Well, maybe if we change the language to this, it'll sort of make it harder for the public to use this. I don't know. They call it conspiracy. I don't know. Anyway. I'm going to give you my interpretation of what I see of this data, but I don't know whether I have this exactly right, so we'll just see how it goes over time. On the CFTC page, this is the report itself, and on the page itself, and this isn't, because Bitcoin is now in the big boys, and of course we cover this for a couple weeks on the Level 2 program. It probably behooves you to start getting familiar with these reports. And these are the ones that I like to use, especially for the ags and stuff. But they created this new thing, right? This current trader financial futures reports. And if you want, you can go down and read the notes. Right? They basically break apart what each of these categories is and sort of what their role in the market is. I think it's a little bit ambiguous, but, like I said, really the proof of the pudding is in the eating. We're just going to have to simply watch the data and see if it validates with what we're seeing. Simple as that. We just don't have any choice. So it's going to take some time for us to get really comfortable using this, but nonetheless, here we go. I think they call dealer intermediaries. They like to classify these as people that are actually in the business of selling securities, because there's so many businesses that do things like exchange traded funds. You guys have heard of those, right? I even saw today there is somebody was talking, I don't know whether it was on the site or whether I saw it on Twitter, that there's actually a whole bunch of quote unquote accredited investor products for here in Canada that are coming to market. So, the funny thing is about the SEC, right? All you Americans and stuff, you think the sort of world revolves around the US and stuff, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see a whole bunch of other countries just come in and just eat, these ETF business lunch. And then the Americans will say, okay, fine, if you insist, we're going to just stomp on this thing. That's usually how it goes. So I know there are a number of different ETFs. I know there are a number of different players. I know there's some in Canada. But for the purposes of this, and keep in mind, first and foremost, we have to understand there is only 5,000 contracts reported, 5,200 contracts reported here. So we have to be very careful right off the bat that we don't interpret too much into this. Considering that each of these contracts is supposed to be for 1 Bitcoin, that's only 5,000 Bitcoins, right? Roger Ver could probably shit that in his sleep if he felt like it. So, again, like I said, we got to sort of, let this breathe a little bit here to actually see if we can interpret the data. But what I'm seeing here is heavy on the long side. And I'm wondering whether these are like players like BTCG, right? And it's funny because they just went through a little split that they did. And my hunch is that's these kind of players. And they're heavily long, which would make sense because basically they're going to be selling their product to the public. They want to show on their balance sheets that they're long Bitcoins. The only issue here is it's only 55 Bitcoins. That's not that much. So, can we interpret too much on this? I don't know. And the long and short of it is they are all on the long side. And I think that makes sense because, buy when it snows, sell when it goes. This is the happy season in the stock market. So you're going to be shilling to the public. And my hunch is that's that kind of story. We notice this asset manager institutional. We see no participation here whatsoever. And if I understand correctly, these are sort of like the pension funds and stuff like that. And it's understandable that Bitcoin just wouldn't even be on their radar screen yet. Then we move over here to the leverage funds. And what I'm seeing here, and then is these leverage funds. These are the people like the CFTs. CFTs? I think that's right. CMTs. Commodity futures trading advisors. I don't know what the hell the damn designation is now. And basically, like our institutional players, right? And they're going to be on the right side of the market. And then other reportables. And this is what concerns me about this report is that it seems very misleading. This is industry. These are the hedgers, other reportables. That's pretty vague. They should have at least just called them the commercials. And, the bottom line here is industry hedgers, they want to take the opposite side of the trade because what they really want to do is remove price risk for their clients. Clients just want to have basis risk. Remember what I talked about with options earlier, right? So these guys generally want to take the opposite side of the market. And you can see, number one, their long side bets, you can see they're not really growing that much. There's a little bit of growing interest. But their short side of the bets, look at the size of the growth here. It's like 5-1. And their short bias is building. And we've watched this over the past couple of weeks building. So that's an interesting comment, right? That suggests that maybe industry's looking for a bit of up here. And then we go over to the institutions, right? The buy side, the CFTs, the guys who facilitate these guys' trade. And we see that actually they're pretty heavy on the long side. And what's interesting too is they bought a shitload of Bitcoin. Isn't that what's that guy's name? Bought a shitload of Bitcoin, right? We should inject his little did anybody remember that? Yeah, I think I got his Dan Nefarian or whatever. Big boobs and guns, dude. Yeah. Bought a shitload of Bitcoin. So that's what they did. Can you see that? Over the past reporting period, they went about 763 Bitcoins. So that's interesting. And it's interesting too that you can see on the short side that actually decreased their numbers. So they're supposed to be on the right side, and it looks like they're leaning long. They're supposed to be on the wrong side, and it looks like they're leaning short. The only thing that I ask about this, and I wonder, is retail still a little bit too long? And you notice that in this recent report, look how the shorts are building and look how the longs are coming off here, almost a 2-to-1 ratio. So I don't know, maybe we still have to go through another week or two of malaise here to get this number down. get the retail market shorting, and then we'll know that this thing's ready to rock and roll. So let's watch. I don't think we actually talked about this in the Broiler Chicken Show, and I was thinking about it overnight. It's probably worth that we took a few minutes just to review that. What do you think? Was that of any value to anybody? I hope so. All right, so I think there isn't anything else. Just a quick note, RSP group. I've been working away on scanning through, and really, this is sort of what ultimately I want you guys to get to the point to, where you come up with sort of a very simple screener, right, that just goes and filters some ideas, and then you go through and you have to simply vet your ideas. Does it meet the fundamental screening criteria? And out of this huge list, right, I pulled down like 70 or 80 stocks, and you can see that only 1, 2, 3, 4 stocks out of this whole list even come close to screening criteria. And it's only at that point that once the screening criteria is met, that you can even start going and looking at the chart. So if anything, I thought this is an excellent demonstration that, and this is why when if you are interested in participating in the RSP group, and guys like Mike have been just going through stocks after stocks after stocks. Leanne, same thing. Stan, same thing. It's work. This is a pain in the ass. It's a lot of work, no doubt about it. So we really don't want freeloaders. No offense, but we're all putting in hard effort here. And I would expect equal amount from any participant in this group. If you want to participate, you have an open invitation, right? If you understand how these fundamental models work. And the great part about it for you new level oneers is you're going to learn this. Actually, on Wednesday, we open up the fundamental analysis module. So you're going to all be learning this at light speed over the next couple weeks. So, if you do want to participate in this screening process, I don't have a problem inviting you, but you have to understand that if you want to be part of this group, we're going to expect some effort from you. All right. I don't mean to be a dick, but, I'm being a dick. Sorry. Okay. Let's see. Where should we go next? I think we talked lots about sort of expectations on the higher time frame on Bitcoin. Thomas given we talked lots about some cool, setups on a daily basis. Usually if you pop into the lounge, somebody's hunting something. I thought it was really interesting through the weekend. I could make the argument that bulls and bears have setups working, and it's just really a question of what your trading plan is. So here was a funny one that we did just as a demonstration for the site, just simply saying, we had a sentiment indicator. Let's see what happens. And you can see how the market worked up, just simply hunting 2-to-1s. If you had, as a veteran trader said, okay, well, Brian, I'm not greedy. If I get an M that comes in here, I'm just going to blow it out at 1.6, 1.7 to 1. I can live with that. I think it's a really good exercise for new traders to just simply get into the habit of hunting for 2-to-1s and then just seeing what happens. Just log what happens. Very worst case scenario, especially if we move up this much, is I think it's probably a good idea if you did take this trade just to watch get scratch if this thing ultimately craps out here. And it's interesting how they just brought it right back down to this basing level and we bounced here. So, there is the long trade that was developed way back here. And I thought it was really interesting because through this, right, all the shorter time frame players, right, we had a range off of a low to high and a reload zone. And you come down to your momentum indicators. And as we were rallying up here into this reload zone, you'll notice that we got above value, right? So Hoagie, he loves hunting any kind of setups up top here. Where's Hoagie? There he is. Up here. He loves hunting setups through here. 78.6. Didn't quite tag it, but, I think it's understandable why guys would be thinking about shorting up here. Divergence. And this was really cool because this was a coil you can see. And it was a really good example that if the market had accepted and put in a W here, that the potential divergence that was developing would have actually turned into a bullish signal, and this thing could have taken off like a rocket. So really, really good example. You'll notice on this MACD, where the hell are we here? The divergence, and actually this is a good exercise for new people, right? The divergence is confirmed when the indicator goes below. Here's the M, up, down, up, down, up, boom. You could actually argue there's a nice double divergence here. This bar right here confirms this M. And this same bar confirms this M. So the divergence itself is actually confirmed here. So like I said, I mean, you never know in trading. This thing could have very easily gone zing, 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 woohoo, new bull market, right? And it's dangerous through here to call divergence. You got to wait for the move through this low. Boom. All right, confirmed divergence. Ah! Right? So with that said, when we go back and zoom out, oops, I always do that. There is that divergence, and it was confirmed right here, right there. So at that point, that's when you go starting to hunt structure. So we go up to the chart. As of this point, I can start hunting structure. And lo and behold, can everybody see this M? Up, down, up, break. What do we say if you see the market smiling at you? So does it make sense why the market is working its way down here? Does that make sense? Divergence confirmed. Cool part about it is we got Willie nice and stupid up here. I love when you have confirmed divergence, Willie stupid, big fat M, trade location. Can you see the 2-to-1 risk reward setup? So, you know, the interesting thing is our knee-jerk reaction. We should always, you know, we've always talked about this in the past with you guys. Bulls make money, bears make money, but pigs get slaughtered. You've heard me say that before. So I always think it's a good idea to use the 50% level as a targeting tool. So I might be inclined to maybe even take partial profits just on a tag of that level. Maybe move your stop to break even on the remaining. Ironically enough, I actually think, you know, this trade, considering, can you see how there's this big hole in the profile right here? All the way through here. Right? So that's going to need some attention, right? Because the profile ideally wants to look like a parabola. So you can see there's unfinished business here. And what's really cool, of course, is if we go, boom. What a coincidence. Can you see how that's just going to do nothing more than bring price down into a buying window? My hunch is the market wants to hold this trend line here. You're probably going to get some sort of insane spike that goes zing, zing like that. I'll just leave that on the charts. Let's see what happens. But my hunch is it's probably going to look something like that. So be prepared. Over the short term, this market's working its way lower. That make sense, guys? Now, the interesting thing here, and I love this as a tool for you guys. I wonder where Wayne is. Actually, Wayne's not here today. I can't believe it. Wow, that's shocking. Hey, Andre, did you get my message over on YouTube? As soon as you get your microphone fixed, do another hangout with me, and let's get these that you back together. Okay, so let me know whether you hear me on YouTube over there. I'm waiting. All right, well, I'm going to keep my eyes open over there. I hope you're hearing me. Okay, so that's sort of short term. I think we're still working our way down. But who can tell me, what are we, if we're a bear here, and really it should make sense. Does it make sense to go and short this thing right here? Anybody? What do you think? Okay, cool. You PM'd me? All right, cool. Does it make sense to go short right here? I don't think so. This is not a good trade location, right? And I could very easily see a nice counter trend rally right back up against these highs. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. But do you guys notice this? Check out what, if we actually go down to our momentum indicators, do you see how there's actually a divergence here? Can you see that? A bullish divergence. So what are we supposed to do if we are bearish and we wanted to get short? And understandably, it's not that good of a trade location. What are we supposed to do if we are a bear and we see these little bullish divergence? Remember? Wait, right? Temper. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you, Keith. I don't know whether they're Justin. Justin, you did the level 1 last term, right? So remember, we used to always say temper, 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 right? So kind of like, what are the bulls supposed to do here when this divergence confirms, right? Temper their enthusiasm. And that would have been a good idea. Now the irony of it all is we got a little bull divergence here. Now the bears have to temper their enthusiasm. And I guess what it tells me is, you know, when I see all these conflicting messages, I see it just conflicting. What that really means is we're in for some fucking chop Vegas here, guys. I don't think we've got any trending signals. We have incredible cross currents going on off of different time frames. I think if anything, you know, let's not assume any sort of big movement here out of Bitcoin. We're going to get some herky-jerky, insane stuff here over the short term, but I don't think we can make any clear directional signals here off of these lower time frame charts. And you know, having said all that, we have to remember the big picture. And off the higher time frame, remember we were at such an important juncture here. So this was the daily chart, and this is my little RSI model that I like to follow for short-term price momentum. And really the bottom line here, now we've got a nice little established uptrend. If this uptrend is broken, then we might actually resume, you know, and what we might actually see, and I've seen this before lots, is the market actually comes along and plays along. You know, if we lose this line here, the market's probably going to come along and play along this line. So we were feeling very optimistic and things were looking rah. Yesterday, we really wanted to see a punch through of this level and a nice close above there. I don't think we got that. If anything, now we have, it kind of looks to me like a little, maybe we might can, let's go like that, and let's go like that, let's go like, whoop, like that. All right, that didn't work. All right, there. If we just draw a simple analysis off of this very, very simple momentum trend line, we're coming up to a very important pivot here. And I just don't think we can make too big a conclusion until this either breaks out. We might, and it would really suck, but you know, it's going to do, a market does what market wants to do. We might come in here and M out, and if that's the case, then Bitcoin's in the tanker for a while here. So neither of these scenarios has played out yet. We're still trapped in sort of like this little sort of wedge here. And I wouldn't get too sucked into either until we actually get closed prints either above or below these trend lines. And like I said, off of the lower time frame, we're getting a lot of temper your bullishness, temper your bearishness. You can see all these tails. This could be really choppy in here for a bit, and really tough location. This is not easy trade right here. Yeah, it's a challenging market. I'm totally going to say that here. If you had to come to Bitcoin to actually make a living trading right now, it's tricky. I think it's totally you know, these lower time frame setups, and you just got to take your small wins, book them, and move on. Market right now is very drifty off of the higher time frame, and until this sort of resolves itself, I think we're just stuck in this range. Very, very drifty. And then the last thing, to sort of, you know, talk to the bear side of the equation, we have to understand this this AB equals CD is still technically floating out here. Nothing's really been broken here. I did really like the fact that they put in this double top here. They broke it down and then they smashed it up here. But you understand, hopefully, that if you did short this 25 level, your stop is up here. So for us to really know that this entire bearish setup is broken is we got to see get price up above here, right? And you can see, you know, on the profile, there is a lot of unfinished business up here. So, you know, for me to stop, you know, worrying and crapping my pants about $7,000 Bitcoin, we really got to get up and bust this top here. But until, you know, this range is resolved, and interestingly enough, right, this thing has just gone sideways. It was really interesting is somebody actually posted this as a trade setup on TradingView. And I would be just really curious to see whether they're actually still in the trade or whether they got chicken shit through the trade and actually walked away. Because I would actually make an argument that really there's nothing to be doing here. This is now when you have to be patient and disciplined and just simply wait for your levels. If you went long off of here and you're risking here, then there's just nothing to do, right? You are still long and you're just going to stay long. If you shorted the bot and your stops are against here, you're still short and your stops are up here and there's just nothing to do. It's a trader's life. Drive you crazy. All right. So I think that's my basic Bitcoin summary. I hope that helps you guys. I suppose we can go over to altcoin land for a while. You know, it's interesting through the weekend, I put together this sort of, I like to just grab the sort of hottest coins and just keep an eye on them, see how volume is moving, see how the pace of trade is going. If I see acceleration, then that'll tell me that money's pouring in. And usually what I like to do is just, you know, do the little simple screen, of plus and minus first. And, you know, on the new site and on the new dashboard, I don't even have the old dashboard loaded here, but on the new dashboard, we should give you, you know, very, very robust data to work with. I don't even know what's going to load here. Yeah, but right now we just simply show here altcoins minus 66% in the short term and minus 3% in the longer term. You guys remember we actually got these numbers up into like the high 70, high 80s. What a good analogy, eh? So when the new site is loaded up and I've told you guys repeatedly, if you ever see heavily, on the long or short side, one side or the other on both the short and medium term, watch out for a pivot. So I think that's played itself out, or it is playing itself out. It's interesting how on the country funds, like the stock market kind of idea. And, our stock market thesis, I'm throwing a gazillion things at you guys here today, but I'm just having fun. Are you guys enjoying this? Do you like how Brian just is like, okay, let's go over here. Let's go over there. Let's go over there. But I'm very interested in the stock market thesis here going forward. And I do believe that actually there's two trades here, really. But I do believe we're coming into a short-term pivot. And this was really cool because, this is where the rubber meets the road. The level 1 people, they just did their strategic planning module. And all of you graduates and alumni and shit, if you go back, this shit is important, right? It works. So it's really interesting. The level 1ers are just doing sentiment studies, and somebody pulled up a bullish percentage index of the stock market. And they said, well, Brian, in your writing, you say a reading above 70 on bullish percentage means that we should probably be looking for a top. And it's sitting at 75 right now. And I went, okay, that makes perfect sense. Because actually what I think is going to play out here is you can see, our A, B, C, Ds. So I actually think that the stock market is going to rally here into maybe, in this particular case, it was late March, the very beginning of April. So, another month, 2 months, that makes sense. Your bullish percentage index is now sitting overbought. Wait for a nice M to come in on that bullish percentage index. We might as well just go grab that while we're here. Where do I have that? I think I have it over here. I think we can do this one. Sentiment, sector breadth indicators, market breadth, bullish percentage. There we are. All right, yeah, here we go. So here is the overall bullish percentage. Can everybody, so perfect, all right? Can you see how we're up at 75 right now? So if we go and pull up, say, the weekly price chart here. So you can see every time it gets up into sort of this plus 70 area, watch out for a top, right? Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Now, it's not a good idea just to hit a number just because it is above 70. I would, this is a weekly chart, but hopefully, if you go down onto the dailies, right, hopefully you see things like M's and, candle patterns, bearish candle patterns here especially. And, you could use short-term moving averages if we go back to that daily chart. What do these tops look like, right? Fractally. You can see the bottoms very well defined. Long and short of it here is, look at the MACD or this RSI, for example. I mean, you can see it's actually cool. We do the embedded study here through the program of overbought and oversold conditions. So if anything, this looks to me like it's embedded. So it's going to last a little while. And, our thesis here is basically we're looking for this move to come into sort of, March, April. And really following that event, we should see, probably a good like 5-10% correction through to sort of the end of June, beginning of July. That's usually how the market goes. And then if this is a stock market crash scenario, we will bottom hard here and we will have an equidistant move up here into September, October, where the market will just grind higher here and set up this big sort of dump scenario. So, the point that I wanted to make was this makes perfect sense. So, here we are, the end of January. This could easily chug along here for another, month or two. But, you should take away from the market that, yeah, market's overbought and it's getting a little toppy. I would say on comparison basis, we're probably somewhere like right in here right now on this. Yeah, could go for another month or so. And really, everything that you learn in the course and, level oneers and stuff, you'll see this more and more. What do tops look like? Hopefully everybody can see this M here. It's kind of tough to see. But, the market will top out and it'll tell us when it's ready to break down. And it's not really too outlandish, but it's a really good anecdote of, yeah, the market is overbought and it's very pricey and very dangerous to be a buyer right now. Right? We want to be buying when they're crying and selling when they're yelling. Right. Where do we want to go next? Little concerned at the rate at which interest rates are going up here, man. This is perfect 87 scenario. This is exactly the same thing that happened in 87. Bonds just kept going up and up and up and up, or interest rates just kept going up and up and up and up and up. And after a while, somebody goes, holy shit, do you see how much it costs to borrow money? And the whole stock market goes, pfft. So this is a perfect similarity to 87. It's quite shocking, really. And then, of course, same thing as I said, I've talked to you guys repeatedly. In 87, the catalyst that actually broke the market in October was then Treasury Secretary Baker coming out and saying the U.S. government has no plans to defend the U.S. dollar in the marketplace. And the whole market just shit their pants. And just dumped hard. So, this go round, and this is sort of what I wanted. Grim was here earlier. I've sort of given him a mini assignment to go out and hunt this stuff. But what I'm seeing is we're starting, this Munchin guy who, frankly speaking, I don't think, the market, Harvard economist would really endorse. I think he's a Trump guy, and he, of course, is a Goldman Sachs guy, and they just, they want to make money. But a lot of giving Grim sort of the side assignment to go and find the parallels of Baker and this Munchin guy. And so we're going to be working on this over the coming months. I think there's a lot of parallels there, so it's a bit scary. Okay, so we talked a little bit about venture capital ideas and working with screens. We talked a little bit about, recessions happen in years that end in 8s, 9s, 0s, 1s, and 2s. So here we are. Did anybody do the Jupiter-Saturn cross assignment? Jupiter-Saturn cross? I think I saw somebody was posting some astrological charts. Nobody? Crickets? All right, and Bodhi's given us a really good little tidbit here. Gail Dudak, and of course, all you people in level 1 should be getting to know Gail Dudak very well over the coming weeks. She suggests watch for margin drawing up to find the top, and really that makes sense because I like to follow. Let's see, do I even have it on here? I'm a really big fan of the TED spread. Have I guys ever talked to you guys about TED spread? All students and stuff should be very familiar with the TED spread. What do I do with my spread charts though? So sort of a side fun assignment for you guys, especially those that are less crypto oriented and more interested in learning about the broader market. Spread matrix. People in financial circles like to follow this relationship. This is called the TED spread, and it is the cost of borrowing for corporations versus the Fed, right? So what is the difference between going out into the corporate market and borrowing money on the short-term basis and going to the Fed window, right? And of course, only certain people are allowed to go to the Fed window. So bottom line here is when this spread goes crazy, i.e. corporate interest rates go through the roof, financing dries up, then it means the whole system is going to seize up and all hell's going to break loose. So, we've been flirting with the 0.5 level, and you can clearly see that we're going to take another run at it here. But this is going to have a twofold effect. Either A, this breaks out because corporate rates go through the roof, but the Fed trying to keep interest rates low, right, causes this spread to happen. And if anything, this spread and the relationship between these two markets should show you that the Fed doesn't really control the market. The market controls the market. But the Fed will come in at the very end of chaos and provide liquidity to sort of calm this thing back down. But as you can see right now, the spread itself, we're going to come up and test the highs. I think we probably, based here. We got a pretty darn good looking base here. And if we start going into this kind of situation, then it means that the economy is seizing up. Credit is drying up. So, we'll keep an eye out for this. For now, it's not in danger territory. And then the interesting thing about this is if the Fed says, okay, look, interest rates are going up. We have no choice but to raise rates on the short end, which, is going to quell the market concerns, TED spread issues. We're going to keep the liquidity going, but that means we have to keep pace with corporate rates. So if that's the case, then what will probably happen, of course, where the hell is it? Is, and we've talked lots about this recently, is that will cause the curve to invert. And it's interesting. Look how, can you guys see that on the medium-term basis, this curve is flattening out a hell of a lot, eh? So all the Fed, if we start getting into sort of TED spread kind of problems, do you see how if the Fed has to crank rates up to try and quell that TED spread problem, that's going to flatten the curve? Does that make sense, guys? And then what happens when curve flattens? Uh-oh, right? Uh-oh. if the curve flattens, look out, right? Curve flattens. There's a, where are we here? I think it was right up in here somewhere. Inverted. Whoa, look out. So can you guys see the story developing? And the interesting thing is we could really make the argument that it's not in the Fed's hands. The Fed has no choice. The market is actually going to dictate what happens here. They're very interesting. So as Gail suggests, right, if the Fed is concerned with keeping the system going and they crank short-term interest rates up, what you're probably going to see that will mark sort of the top in the stock market is a top in margin lending, right? So if people just stop borrowing money, let's see, do they have any charts here? Yeah, so if anything, Garrett, you want a fun side assignment, we should go and grab a chart of margin loans and margin lending. As soon as that tops out, starts to roll over, then we know we're toast. Does that make sense? Yeah. So if anything, let's really concentrate on going and finding this data here, right? We should be able to get it fairly simple. Yeah, here we go. So, if we start mining this and we start seeing that the margin lending is rolled over, then we'll know that get ready, here it comes. But I don't think it's there just yet, right? I don't think we're quite there just yet. Okay, what do you think, guys? We could probably spend the last maybe 10, 15 minutes looking at your ideas. I hope, thank you for indulging me. There's a whole bunch of stuff I wanted to talk to you guys about today. I tell you, it's fascinating times we're living in the markets here, my friends. Top of the market to you. We've been waiting for this for, I've been waiting for this for 17 and a half years for the end of this fear cycle. It's been a crazy 17 years, but I'm so glad we're finally at the end of this fear cycle. It's going to take some time to make the transition. There's no doubt about it, but I absolutely will tell you, I was a broker. I lived through the dot-com days. I grew up in LA through the 80s. The growth phase of the market, I think, is a lot more fun than the fear phase, but it's going to take some time to make the transition. Don't get me wrong. Okay, interesting. I'm trying to get in on this 21M, working my order at the Gap here. And all you guys are front running me. I can't get a fill here. Look at this. The Gap, and I placed my order at 61.92. And look at the low. 60, where the hell's the low here? 67, 65. I thought we got lower than that. 62.84. It just won't fill me, fuckers. So this got to be patient. Kevin was teasing me. This is like Joshua, Kevin, everybody, Stephen Renton, everybody on this site is sitting here trying to buy this Gap here. So the guys running this coin, they see all our orders down there, right? And they're like, we're not going to give these fuckers fills. So I hope some of you are getting fills here. I just full disclosure, I've got a couple orders working here. So I'm more than happy just to be patient and see if I can pick up some of this. But man, wow, some of the guys on the site just made out like bandits on this thing. And this is Topia, right? I think Topia is still pretty hot. I've got one here. Hopefully we can get a fill on here pretty soon. It's a little bit greedy. I'm having some fun here with this. I'm actually surprised guys gave me as hard a time as I did on this. But I placed my next order on this, sell half on a triple, just for fun. And the only reason why is because look at these old highs, right? And especially when they do something like this, they've basically washed out the order book. Anybody that was selling, they're gone, right? The only new sell orders now are all the people that bought through here, right? Yeah, it did some pretty big things, didn't it? So I think it's really important, guys. Super, super, duper, ooper, juper, cooper, snooper, duper, pooper important. Try and get yourself into a risk-free trade as fast as possible. Seriously. That's your number one priority here. just get it to the point where if the fucking thing goes off the board, who cares? Right? You're playing the game. I heard somebody said they had bought a whack of Litecoin and they sold a whole bunch of it. Yeah, that's interesting data. Garrett, I'll take a look at that when we're done here today. Somebody had bought a bunch of Litecoin and it went zooming higher, and as a result, huge percentage of their portfolio is now in Litecoin. And somebody said, "Well, did you sell any? He's taking profits." And he's like, "Yeah, I took a shitload of profits, and it's still a huge percentage of my portfolio." If you've taken a whole bunch of profits, my attitude is maybe just go buy a little USB device and go and chuck the coins on the address or something to them on some sort of cold storage wallet or something on a USB device, or hold it on that blockchain place, and just put the key to that and the password to it on the USB device and just forget about it. Because you never know what the hell might happen. Trezor, that's what I'm looking for. Thank you, Kevin. So once you get yourself into that risk-free position, it doesn't really matter what the hell you do with the rest of the coins. It's profits, right? And what I find so ironic is that I talk to people in this space and people get all pissed off because they didn't take all of the profits right at the top of the market. And Brian, I'm supposed to fucking capture every single penny possible. Come on. You drive me crazy. I mean, just the fact that we build plans that we're actually forcing ourselves to take some profits, and that becomes it. Our biggest problem is not do we actually make money. Our biggest problem is how much money do we make? What a problem to have. I find it hilarious that people are actually bitching. I could have made 73%, but I only took 39%. I'm all fucking pissed off. I'm having fun with you guys. As I said, I think it's good that we're playing on the right side of the market here. Try to force yourself, number one priority, get yourself into a risk-free position as fast as possible. I know Jeremy, he played with the sell half on a double principle, and he found an equation that sort of, forced him to take profits, but also really maximized returns. And, we've had some coins that it's just nuts what these silly things do. I mean, you can see my screen. There's no reason why these guys can't ramp this thing up. And somebody was saying earlier that back on Trex, this thing was way, way higher. So really, ultimately, the question has to come down to, am I really in a big hurry? Am I sitting there going, fuck, I got to pay the rent with this, right? I got to take a profit. I can't let this money slip through my fingers. No. That is not how I am participating in the market. And that's probably why we've done as well as we have. I'm not in any hurry. I don't care. Just let the stuff work. My money's working for me. And the irony of it all is I could actually say, you guys have heard me talk lots about wicks and tails like to be eaten. You can see there's a nice body sitting right up there. I just didn't see any reason why we can't come back up and explore this wick again. It's perfectly logical. So ironically enough, even selling half on a triple is actually being a bit conservative. I could get even more greedy and say, fuck it, I'm going to work my order up here. That's entirely up to you. But hopefully you guys can see, does it make sense? I'm playing from a position of strength. Nobody's holding a gun to my head to do anything here. And I'm just, all right, well, let's be a little greedy. Let's see what the fuck happens. All right? It's no skin off my back. This is basically a free position as it is anyway. That's right, Garrett. Scared money is dead money. So, and the interesting thing about Topia, right, is you cannot get sucked into doing things like watching the DOM, because this market is incredibly illiquid. And you might find at like 3:57 a.m., pow, they just launch it up here. And, if you sat there tick by tick by tick and waited, you would have never seen that. So don't get into sort of watching the DOM here on Topia, and for God's sakes, don't market buy. The irony of it all is, you know who's going to actually give me my fills up here? It's the people that are going to get impatient and just go, oh, fuck it, I can't watch the screen anymore. Just buy it and get it done with, right? That's the people that are actually going to give me my fill here. So anyway, kind of a fun story and just a really good illustration of what I do. I'm not really in any hurry here, but my hunch is over the next week or two, I'm probably going to get a fill here. There's no hurry. Just let it work. All right. So blah, 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 blah. Brian, you sure love the sound of your own voice. Let's see who this is. Andre. Okay, never mind. I'll fix it. Trying. Yes. Yeah, get that microphone going, man. Did you listen to the video? Fuck, that was torture. So I do want to help you, right? All right, Chief. Good luck. Get that microphone fixed. And I think it's really the Wi-Fi connection. Try and see if you can get like a landline connection, Andre, like that. You know, like what do they call those? The blue internet cable things. That's how stupid I am about computers, guys. I don't even know the names of these parts, right? Alex goes, "Oh yeah, you got a cherry pie," and I'm like, "I don't know, maybe." What the hell is a cherry pie? So, okay, what time is it? Yeah, we got 10 minutes to go here. Can we have a look at singles? I think we looked at that recently. We looked at Steam lots recently. I know people were really stressed about Tether. You know, my message about Tether stays the same. It will work as long as it serves the people that are running this market's purpose. And considering the amount of inflows that we've seen into the industry of late, I don't see that changing. I did hear some sort of talk about auditors not wanting to do the job that was sort of contracted from them. That doesn't necessarily mean that the auditors are saying it's bad. It's just they just don't want to do the job. And I suppose they don't want to take that kind of risk, which is fine. And some people were messaging, "Oh my God, what should I do? What should I do?" My simple principle, guys, here is you have to understand crypto is the most speculative part of the market you can possibly participate in. This is all 100% venture capital. I would not be coming here and risking your retirement money. That's just stupidity. Have fun with it. Pay yourself. Get your original capital out as fast as possible. You know, ironically enough, we were joking earlier that we're probably going to see this whole space go full circle where banks actually turn into what they originally were supposed to be. Actual like safe places to keep money. That's, you know, safety deposit boxes. That's what a bank was supposed to be to begin with back in like, you know, the wild, wild west days, right? Guys would knock over a bank, right? So the point is that I actually think that's actually where we're going to go back to. That's the world that we're going to go back into. Lappy 486. What the hell does that mean? Is that your password or something? All right. So understand that Tether is serving somebody's purpose. And when, yeah, really, I would argue that I'm not going to name names, Garrett, but we all know who is basically running Phoenix. And until it doesn't serve their purpose anymore, Bank to the Future, I think it's just business as usual for them. ION. Actually, I think I sold some ION recently. And you know, Bitcoin craps out here. I so want to buy some more of this damn NBT. I don't like the price momentum here, though. This doesn't look right. Volume momentum, yeah, it's there, but price momentum looks awfully toppy. I'm probably talking more to myself there than anything else. Sorry, guys. All right, where are we here? ION. I seem to remember, didn't I? Maybe I bought some of this. I don't know. Let's see what we got here. What did we do here? Recently completed. ION. We sold at 32.50. What the hell is 32.50? All right, 32.50. That's interesting here. So that must mean I should have another order to sell. I think maybe this is another one where I put a sell the next half on a triple. Let's see. What is the scoop? Uh-oh. Gonna have to log back into Trax. Jeez. Stop using the site for 5 minutes and... Oh, look at that. No. Yeah, it's loaded. Huh. You're just teasing me now. All right. So, me, Arterbook. No. Yeah, I've got to log in. Jesus. So silly. How do you do that? Hold on a second. All right. Secret code. I love those secret codes. Okay. Where are we here? Orders. ION. Okay, so I got a bit left, and the next order is, yeah, to sell half of what I got left. Yeah, sell half on a triple. So again, a little bit greedy here on the other half. My next order is sitting up here in this 95 area. Yeah, that might be a bit greedy, but like I said, I already got my free position, so don't have any real risk involved here. We come back against the bottom of value here. I might think about going and buying some back. Sort of sitting in no man's land right now. I suppose I could have gotten another sell half on a double order off here at 65, but like I said, I'm not really in any big hurry here. Hopefully that helps you. I mean, really, it's not really in a buying zone. It's sort of sitting in no man's land right now. And if you wanted to get in with me, the irony of it all is I bet you the buy level is almost exactly where I got in. So we draw a good old reload zone. And, you know, when you actually see an image like this, you should go, oh, yeah. There's Mr. Mountain Man at work. Doink. Big counter trend rally. He's going to sell a whack of it on some sort of, you know, probably 50% of this range kind of idea. Stop to break even on remaining and just see where the hell the wind takes him. It's interesting how 78.6 is basically right off this original bottoming range. And I wouldn't be surprised if 88.6 is sort of right off of these lows. You know, if you wanted to be a buyer, I think you can see clearly where we'd be working our bids. Yep, there's Kevin Kavarkanator, and there's Ian Leopard Kavarkanator. If that's such a thing. So up here, can we be a buyer up here? Actually, you have an inside bar fail signal there. So no. And of course, you got sort of like a black hole here in the profile that looks like it needs to be filled in. Okay, why don't we do one more and then we'll call it a day. USD JPY. I've been talking recently about a cute little long setup that's working there. You know, as long as Donald Trump is ripping apart the US dollar, I think that on balance, most of the currencies are going to move up against the US dollar. I've been hearing like Canadian dollar's doing a lot better. I think there's a cute little pivot right here, and we threw on this day trade sort of example here. Jesus, that's a monthly chart? What the hell? Wondering why it wasn't moving. All right, so there is the, you know, and even really, we could even just go off of this level right there. You know, hopefully you can see the W down, up, down, breakout. For the real slick currency traders. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Hopefully it makes total sense, right? That now there is a Kavark if I've ever seen one, right? Sexalicious. So the currency traders, right? Damn, look at that. That's a stone cold honky right there. It's not an easy life though, trying to be able to, you know, basically buy this on the fly here. You could, as we come down into sort of this zone, go to the reload zone. So, you know, if anything, here's a really good example of why sort of like more mature markets, they're going to respect this reload zone, whereas the venture cap markets, they love to tag these 88.6, you know, basically go right back down to the bottom. So do you see sort of the difference here? So, if we were, if you were like, I totally want to get along the yen, we're in a, higher time frame location, you see this price action, right? At this point here, you could always drill down to say, we'll just put like a box right in here. And you could drill down to say like, I don't know, 2-hour chart. Let's see what we got here. Boom. All right, let's see if we get any setup setting up here. So there is interesting candle body lows. We talk about candle body lows, especially these. You see how this is a nice hard firm low in here? Right there. And then you could argue here. And actually, this is what the daily chart looks like right there. So, as opposed to long tails, Bitcoin right now has got these tails. So it's just like, So it doesn't surprise me that you see the market come down into that level. And actually, this is exactly what we just did for the level 2ers. So, right into that level. Look how she turned. Not even interested in getting down there. And then you look at your chart itself. Can everybody see this momentum divergence here? There. And there. This is a bit trickier, right? You're going to have to sort of interpret that turn there. So you could argue the divergence actually sort of confirms right in here. In essence, buy on a move through these highs right here, risk against these lows. It's a pretty big range, though. It's kind of sloppy. I suppose on the back side of this would be tricky, though. You can see they really didn't give retail a nice clean entry here, did they? So if anything, I think retail is probably still waiting for their entry here. So I think, this was the bottoming zone right here, right? And I don't know whether that's a move to a new high. Ooh, look at that. So 2 times in a row. Boom, Mountain Man. Hunt your setup off like 15-minute chart kind of idea through there. I wouldn't even be surprised if that's a kill zone. Yep, that's the London kill zone right there. We always say markets love to pivot in Tuesday, Wednesday, London kill zones. And then, market rallied back up here, and you're like, gee whiz, I sure would love to get into it. Look, they did it again. All right, Mountain Man. Nice. Oh, look at nice divergence here, setting that up. All right. So, I think actually on the lower time frame, you had a couple stabs to try and get in on this thing. All right. So, yen off the higher time frame, daily chart. Hey, old range, 50% level, never was hit. And I wouldn't be surprised, there's probably like 38.2 rejection here. Yep, 38.2, doink, see you later. So what that means is, I think, for whatever it's worth, Colonel Mustard did it in the drawing room with the candlestick. Something like down there. There. Man, it's irritating when this stupid magnet thing's on. Right, something like that. Boobity boom. And there. So interesting how that takes us up to the 50% level. Man, this is going to be chop Vegas here. So choppy. I don't mind actually along there to try and shoot for a move up into here. I think probably if you're going to be hunting the longs, maybe risk against these lows or something. Because if this thing rolls over here and breaks, you could have a AB equals CD going the other direction. And also, too, yeah, I would probably try and get your stop on the other side of this POC because I don't think it's going to be able to get through there, right? Here's a big trough in here. So if you were trading this, have your stop working down here. If it breaks down from here and swims down into this, right, then you're probably best just to sort of manually exit on the next sort of sell level. And like I said, if it breaks down through this level, boobity-boo, down through here, you probably don't want to be in this trade. The best way I think to trade these kind of trades is through the options market. So it'd be really cool to go, if you want a fun side assignment, go and find out what this is the Japanese yen future. So you're going to have to do, some math to try and figure out, but maybe find like what a 101 call is running you at the strike. Market should be 106. So that option should have 5 points of intrinsic value. If you could buy like a 101 call for like, say, under 2 or 3 ticks, 2 or 3 points, I think that's actually a trade to consider. Okay, I think I'm going to leave my rant at that for today. Sure hope you enjoyed the presentation. We have Monday class tonight, so make sure to fill out all your questions on the Q&A doc. And let's rock this thing tonight in class. So, all right, have yourselves a great day, everybody. All the best, and bye for now.